Sure, whatever you want. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I'll be honest, I'm very excited to see the Parliamentary Secretary here today, because this is the kind of person that I would like to have this type of conversation with, because I have a feeling that him and I could probably fall into a balanced approach to what we need to do with the Canada Summer Jobs Program. So I'm just going to start with the question that I asked initially, and this is when we came back in January of this year, following, let's say, a very tumultuous and contentious Christmas when we started talking about Canada Summer Jobs. And Mr. Speaker, the question that I asked and presented to the House that day, I'm going to read that for you so we can remind where we're at with this conversation. Mr. Speaker, despite being forced to settle a constitutional court case regarding Canada Summer Jobs last year, the Liberals are attacking the very people they claim to help. By forcing groups to sign the Prime Minister's values test, the government is denying help to the groups that provide aid to refugees, run day camp programs for kids with disabilities, and help risk youth. On behalf of these organizations from across Canada, will the Liberals finally remove this values test from the Canada Summer Jobs application? Now, that was just the beginning of this conversation, and that's kind of, yes, when we're in question and answer period or question period, there are a lot of things that you're putting out there. But instead of having a reply indicating, well, you know, we don't think it's the best option giving to advocacy groups, instead, I had this idea that I would not support the rights of women. And it was absolutely ludicrous. So the fact that the Parliamentary Secretary that is here today, I know that we'll have a much better conversation, and I really expect that. But the issue that we have here is the discussion that carried on. On March the 1st, I had the pleasure of putting forward a motion to the House of Commons asking them to fund the Canada Summer Jobs programs for the daycares and for a lot of these groups that are actually doing advocacy for their hometowns, for their communities. We talk about the day camps, we talk about helping seniors prepare meals or coaching that kid's soccer team. I know I've had a lot of different Canada Summer Jobs students who have participated in a lot of activities like that. And this is really a great program. For years, the prior member of Parliament for Elgin Middlesex London, I worked with him on these programs. So I could tell you the type of results that we had. We actually had great jobs and great kids coming out of these programs. But this year, the government decided to put this attestation in. And the problem with this, and the problem that I see is, we have one day they're saying no to our faith groups, and the next day saying yes to our pipeline protesters. And it makes no sense. I'm saying pick a side and go with it. You can't have it both. But part of the problem is that they were talking about these attestations, and then they said, well, you know, we've put in an explanation. You can sign the attestation because we have this explanation of what we're doing, as long as they're not doing something that's anti-abortion or anti-LGBTQ. Well, Mr. Speaker, the fact is, you're never signing one of those summary of what you can and cannot do. You're signing an attestation, which for many people, they look at that like a legal document, and that they're signing that their beliefs, that they cannot attest to that. Now, within my own community, and it's because of all of this, I went back and looked at the community funding for the last 13 years and 14 years in Elgin Middlesex London, and not one time did these organizations fund anti-abortion, pro-life, any of these organizations, anti-LGBTQ, not one single one. But this year alone, in Elgin Middlesex London, 35 different organizations did not apply. And the majority of those were because they would not sign this attestation. And that's because it was going against what they thought the government was doing. And so I would like to ask the honourable colleague, do you believe the Canada Summer Jobs should have backtracked to the old ways, or do you think this became a huge boondoggle because of the attestation?
Here.